All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for watching News 12. I'm Scott McGee. Welcome to our live coronavirus pandemic special report. And tonight, we've got Ben Soccodato from Barnum Financial Group SKG Team. We do want to hear from you. Feel free to post your questions on any of our News 12 social media platforms. But before we do talk to Ben, and we are having some slight audio issues, it's going to be an adventure tonight. We will be starting to take your questions in just a minute. But first, it is, in fact, 7 p.m. And so News 12 would like to join the rest of the country by clapping because we care. This is our way of saying thank you to all of the essential workers out there. Healthcare workers love to hear that. And we also want to say thank you to Kathleen Lawson from West Nyack. Thank you to Michael Wong from Mamaroneck. And thank you to Michael Zambardino from Pearl River, a meat manager at the ShopRite and a coronavirus survivor. I want to say thank you to so many. I wish we could thank you all personally, but we will definitely try to get as many on as we can. All right, now, as I mentioned, we do want to hear from you. So send us your pictures and videos of the essential workers in your lives. Just go to the News 12 Facebook and Twitter pages, and we will maybe see your nominee on our air. Meanwhile, we are joined now by Ben Soccodato from Barnum Financial Group SKG Team. As you can see, we're having some slight audio issues. So, Ben, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Scott, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Ben, what are you seeing right now in your line of work? What are the big questions you're hearing from the people calling your office?
Well, they're calling more to the office and getting directed to home these days, like many. But I think in general, there's uncertainty in the marketplace. We've seen the market move quicker in a shorter period of time than ever before. So to put some perspective around things, February 19th, the S&P 500 had almost hit 3,400. And if I fast forward about a month later, on March 23rd, the S&P 500 had hit a low of 2,192. Today, the S&P 500 has rallied dramatically and is almost back to 2,900. But in the midst of that, we've seen some really crazy things happen. Like unemployment went from a historical low of 3.5%. Last week's count was over 20% of our population is now unemployed. We've seen the U.S. Treasury on a 10-year basis break a 0.5 percentage point. And just last week, we saw a barrel of oil actually go negative, where there wasn't enough space to house oil, so you would literally get paid to house oil, theoretically, if you could. So to say this is the weirdest time in the marketplace that we've ever seen is an understatement. I've been doing this for 15 years, Scott, and lived through 08, 09, and nothing compares to what we've seen over the last 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's we've all, those of us who are brave enough have taken a little peek at our 401k and been somewhere between distraught and depressed when we look at that. Now, right now, so many people are in real financial dire straits. So what advice do you have for people who may have right now more bills than cash on hand?
So that goes back to really the basics of financial planning. The importance of having a plan, right? So we don't want to make decisions in a time of panic. We want to be prepared for any economic situation. But for folks that have bills piling up and unfortunately don't have the resources to pay, we know a lot of lenders like mortgage companies, credit cards, are working with consumers today to try to accommodate the situation. So I would strongly encourage somebody to contact their lender and discuss what options may be available. So potentially they can defer payment or structure a plan in a different manner.
And that's really the key right now, right? Is that the credit card companies, mortgage companies, they know a lot of people, there's, like they're trying to get blood from a stone here. There's no sense threatening them with anything because there's just no money. But they're not saying you don't have to pay ever, but they are working with you. Are you hearing that from people out there, that these companies are working with them to at least try to keep penalties and fees down to a minimum so that they can stay in their house or keep their car until they hopefully are able to find a job in a month or 2 or 3 months from now?
Absolutely, yeah. We're seeing America as a country come together. And I think obviously this is an issue that nobody wanted, nobody brought upon themselves. This is an issue where obviously it's a health issue, and the government forced the shutdown of the economy. I mean, that's really never happened before. And I think lenders are aware of that and willing to work with the consumer today.
There have been a couple of pieces of legislation that have gone through. One of them is this Kerrs Act. How does that affect withdrawals from a retirement account? Because the rules have changed a little bit in the short term.
That's a great question. So never do we want to advocate for somebody to go into their retirement account to access funds. That's typically the last place we want to go. But the government has extended flexibilities regarding taking distributions. For example, you could take a loan today dependent on your plan, assuming that your plan adopted the Kerrs Act rules, which is a key point. Not all plans have been mandated to do so. But you could take a loan today of up to $100,000 or your full account balance off your 401k. If you're under 59 and a half, where traditionally you would have a 10% penalty on distribution, they have waived that distribution penalty from an IRA or a 401k. If it's a COVID-related distribution, you can also spread the tax over 3 years. So you could theoretically take a third of the tax in 2020, a third in 21, a third in 22.
So you got a couple of options there if it in fact has gotten to that point. And that for some people, hopefully a small number, but for some people, they may get to that point where the last resort has arrived. Now, let's say you're not quite at that point yet, but you're getting nervous. If you're concerned about having enough cash, what do you say to people? One way to start saving some money is maybe not putting any money into your 401k right now. Maybe not forever, hopefully not forever, but for the next few months to get through this. Is that maybe a better idea or something they should consider?
Listen, it's an idea. We never want to stop those contributions for our future. The reality is, we can get a loan for a car. We can get a loan for our kids' education. We can't get a loan for retirement. Right? So we need to continue to save for our future. And, if all of a sudden we stop today with the intention that we'll get back to it in 3 months, 6 months, a year, you and I both know life tends to get in the way, and it's hard to get back going again. Now, if we don't have a financial plan in place, we don't have access to funds in the short term, and that's the only place we're saving, that may be a viable strategy for you to start to build up cash and unfortunately cut back on the retirement contributions. But what I would say is, if you're lucky enough to still be getting an employer match, we don't want to give that free money up unless we have to.
Okay. So let's say now, for those people who are working, they're getting by right now, and all of a sudden they're not going to the store, not spending money on tolls, not buying gas. That extra money that you're getting, should they be doing something with that other than sort of hiding it under their mattress?
Not going on vacations.
Right.
Not going out to eat.
Not buying new cars, not doing all the things that we would normally love to be doing.
You're not kidding. it's a great opportunity, right? For a lot of us, we're recognizing where our money was going, right? For a lot of us, this is an opportunity to take a step back and assess your financial situation and truly create a game plan to move forward. So what I would say is everybody's different, right? So if you're behind on retirement, maybe this is an opportunity to contribute to that Roth IRA you always wanted to, or add more to the 401k. If you have little kids like I do and you're worried about college education, this may be an opportunity to fund those 529s. If you have credit card debt and the interest rates are fairly high, this may be an opportunity to tackle some of that debt. So this is the time to take a step back, assess your situation, and come up with a game plan to move forward and come out of this.
All right. Good advice right there. I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, but I'll be right back with Ben Soccodato in just a minute. Welcome back to our coronavirus special. Joining me now is Ben Soccodato. He's from the Barnum Financial Group SKG Team. And Ben, we've been talking about more personal stuff, but what about businesses? My wife's got a yoga business that's been put on hold. She's been trying to work through the whole PPP thing, and it's been very confusing. What are you hearing from business owners about trying to work with the government on getting some of that, some of those expenses reimbursed and that program worked out?
You know, Scott, as you know, this has been a really, really challenging time for the small business owner. The PPP program had the best intentions, for sure. We saw the first tranche of resources, which was $350 billion, run out in a week. We've now got approval on the second tranche of resources of $310 billion. And the expectation is it's going to run out just as fast. If any small business owner has not yet applied, get that application in as soon as possible if you've been impacted and your business has seen declines in revenue, or potentially you may see declines in the weeks and months ahead. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee that the PPP comes through for each individual business owner, and in all likelihood, there's going to be many business owners that are going to be waiting on the line when the next tranche runs out. With that said, there are other programs that we should be mindful of and aware of. And I would strongly, strongly encourage individuals to reach out to your bank, your SBA lender, discuss your specific situation and what programs may be available to you. So there's an employee retention credit, there's an EIDL loan. It really depends on the specifics of your situation. The PPP by far is the most popular, and as we can see, has been the most subscribed to.
So what do you say to the people out there who maybe have never invested before, but maybe have got a little bit and they're wondering, you know what, the market's been so far down, maybe this is a buying opportunity, or maybe they're investors and just wondering, you know, what do I do now? Where would you be advising people to look to try to get into the market or get back into the market?
Well, look, I think to your point of it being a buying opportunity, long-term great American companies will perform. Right? We know that no matter what market pullback, what recession, what depression we've gone through, great American companies have come through. Now, I would say right now, where the markets are, it's more so time to be disciplined than to try to be heroic. I don't think it makes sense to try to hit a home run right here. We've seen the S&P 500, the top 500 companies in the United States, sell off 35%, rebound over 30% off the bottom. And most analysts and experts are expecting this is not going to be a straight shot up. So there's going to be more challenging times ahead of us. We have to be cognizant of the risks associated with investing. And I think at the end of the day, we need to have a plan, right? If we're talking about money for retirement, and retirement is 10, 15, 20 years away, you could be more aggressive with that money. If we're talking about the money that I want to buy a new home with in the next 12 months, that's money that should sit in the bank, right? So I think everybody needs to assess their situation and come up with a plan that makes sense. There certainly are opportunities in the market today. We know there's going to be definite winners and losers in the market, right? Unfortunately, the airlines, the hotel chains, the cruise lines, energy companies, the banking industry, there's some tough sledding ahead. But if we look at technology, if we look at healthcare, these are sectors that are leading and have performed very well, over the course of the last few months.
Any local companies you like with that in mind?
Well, if you think locally in Westchester, right in our backyard here, I mean, I don't know where Regeneron is with the cure, but they are a company that their name is in the ring, and that's a great local company. IBM's under new leadership. It's a great local company, right? I mean, New York is filled with great companies. That's the reality of, the beauty of the situation that is all around us.
All right, so you're a person that you've got credit cards, you got car payments, you got a mortgage or rent. Where do you put those in order of importance if you know you've got more bills coming in than you've got money to pay them?
Well, it comes down to who's going to work with you, right? I think you should be reaching out to every one of those lenders, right? If you're renting a property, the reality is the landlord understands the economic situation that we're all going through. So I think you need to reach out to each and every one of those lenders and discuss with you who's going to come up with a plan to move forward. Right? Again, nobody forced this situation. The government forced us to shut down businesses, and all of a sudden we went from 3.5% of our population being unemployed to now 20.5%. Right? So it's everybody knows what's going on. There's no secret here, and I think most landlords, most lenders are willing to work with the consumer that's looking for a hand right now.
All right, Ben Soccodato, thank you very much for that. I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with some more money insights during this coronavirus crisis when we return. Welcome back to our coronavirus special. I'm joined by Ben Soccodato with Barnum Financial Group SKG Team. Ben, one last question for you. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of hope that perhaps we can lift these restrictions. There's at least now some talk of at least lifting some of these restrictions soon, and then hopefully like a V-shaped recovery. But how likely do you see a V-shaped recovery from what has been going on?
That's a tough question. As much as we hope for a straight V, straight bounce back up, unfortunately, I think it's going to look more like a Nike swoosh, right? We're going to get the first leg up, which we got, and then it's going to drag out a little bit. When's the next time that we're getting on an airplane? When's the next time we're going on vacation? When's the next time that companies are going to have large gatherings? As much as we want the economy to reopen immediately, some things are going to stall. And unfortunately, I don't believe this is a straight shot right back up.
World that's, no one can go to an amusement park anytime soon. Just there's so many things that just are not going to be an option for a long time, correct?
That's the truth. That's the truth. And when is everybody going to be comfortable to take those steps? Even if we're allowed to, when are we going to be comfortable? That's the question.
Mm-hmm. So we're just going to have to kind of get used to this new normal for at least a little while, or maybe a longer while than we had hoped, and make the best of it and try to plan for what may come, so you give yourself a bit of a cushion. All right, Ben Soccodato, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you. Hopefully we've answered some of your questions from the financial side today. We'll be right back.